Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Fatback 4 on this Sunday night. Sheffield United near Liverpool 2. We're here on a Sunday, and Liverpool have won an actual game of football. It's amazing to say that at the moment. It really, really is. With me, of course, I have Grizz, I have Keith, and standing in for Shawnee this week is Jamie Home. You're all very welcome. Make sure you hit the share button, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and all that messing.
One absolute stud for another stud. I tell you what, eh?
Yeah.
Absolute stud for another stud. I love this show.
Talking of studs, Gav had a little trim there, mate. Looking
I did.
That's why we're late.
That's why we're late. You're trying to fucking hang me here. I like it. But no, we're late because Grizz was complimenting me on my haircut, and then I was telling him about washing my car and how a normal kind of Sunday I felt, which was brilliant. But we're going to get into the game. We're going to get into the victory for Liverpool. A very, very important 3 points. And we're going to look through from the very start to the very end and everything in between. Before we do, this show was brought to you by THIAGO Watches, www.thiarock.com. Make sure you use Daytrippers 15 at checkout for your 15% discount. I can tell you, we all have those THIAGO watches. We all love them, and I've even ordered one for a friend of mine for a birthday, and 2 other people I know have ordered them and love them. Quick delivery, really like the quality of them. So don't forget to support THIAGO. By supporting them, you support us, and I have to be honest, the quality of their stuff is really, really, really good. So make sure you get along and check them out for people. You might do something for Mother's Day for your ma, because there's women's stuff on there as well. So make sure you go and have a look at them. All right. Second thing is the Keane draw was done last Thursday night. We done that. It was ran successfully. Bill was a star doing that. We had the 12 prizes. We have got 12 winners, and we have got the information of those 12 winners. So from tomorrow morning, I'll start packaging them up and posting them off, just to let people know the winners and what how it went. Prize number 12, and I'm gonna have to switch pages as I do this because I should know all these prizes, but it's hard, lads. So prize number 12 was a 3 retro jersey of your choice. That was won by Craig Matthews. The Sean Leonard Prince was won by Dara Fahy. Ashley Loringer, who I found out was a female and not a male, on the show the other night. She won 2 prizes. She won the Jurgen Klopp print by Claskwatch, and she won the £30 voucher for the cop.com. Emma Kavanagh won the moving unit frame, FIFA 95 inspired Divock Origi. Who else won? Johnny Doyle. People claiming this fellow was a relation of mine. He's not. He's actually based in the UK. He won the Carl Tyer, the 7 prints from Carl Tyer. Jimmy Maguire, he won the Redmen prize, which was the hoodie and 2 t-shirts, Redmen merch signed by Bruce Grobbelaar. I hope I have this all right. Sean McAlorum, he won the Anfield wrap signed jersey by Jamie Carragher. You had Aaron Davo won the prize that was donated by Steve-O, which was a Liverpool jersey signed and framed and signed by Lewis Garcia and Jamie Carragher. He gave it back, and David Kavanagh won that. Graham McCarthy won the Mane montage, which was framed and signed. That was given to us by Football Prizes. Noel Nugent won the second prize, which was the Alisson boxed and signed jersey, and Laura Duffy won the VVD signed and boxed jersey. Brilliant draw, brilliant response. The money's being sent. We know all that. Davo, that won that prize that he gave back, him and 6 mates have decided to run 300 kilometres each in March for Keane, which just blows my mind. But if you look on our Twitter, or you look on Davo's Twitter, you'll see the links for PayPal and the links to the GoFundMe. The link for the GoFundMe is in the description to this show as well, all right? I do know that the PayPal's up over €2,500 already. We're in about 3 days, so it's absolutely flying. So if you get a chance, check it out, and if you can help us out with that, absolutely brilliant. Right, on to the game. We win games. That's what we do. Liverpool Football Club win games of football. And it was a must-win, I thought, tonight. Chelsea and United draw gives us a little luck in. Leicester get beaten. Spurs have a good win. City are running away with it, and that's absolutely fine. But Grizz, I'm going to come to you first. You said you were confident going into this one, but they all really do feel like must-wins. You have to take any advantage, don't you?
Yeah, it's one of those seasons, isn't it? Where it's totally the opposite of last season, where we'd sort of watch our rivals drop points and then totally capitalize week upon week upon week, and just sort of dismantle them psychologically as well. Because every time they drop points, we capitalize. This season, unfortunately, has been the opposite. So many opportunities where we've had to close the gap or whatever, and we failed to do so. I just felt today we'd get a tune out of these guys. We've had a very emotional week, with the Alisson dad situation and everything on top of the injury to Hendo. And I thought we'd rally. I thought we'd get together. I thought this week training would do good. And yeah, the results went for us to start off the weekend, and it was down to us to capitalize. And I thought, to be honest with you, I haven't felt as comfortable as that in ages in a Liverpool game. I thought we were comfortable from start to end.
Yeah. Emma Kavanagh says all above us drop points, Bar City. It was massive to get 3 points. It really was. And Chris Brack says, and Grizz will be all over this now. Watch 280 in the chat, only 83 likes. Play the game, smash the like button. It costs nothing. Grizz will make some sort of ultimatum about likes now in a minute, so just give him a minute to think. Jamie.
No, I don't need a minute to think. It's really very simple. Just press it, just smash it, just touch it, just press that like button. It will do us wonders. It will do you wonders, because it will keep us going, and we'll have some positive news for you.
Oh, see, he's a fucker, isn't he? He's an absolute fucker. Jamie, Grizz was confident going into this one, but I want your reaction to it, because did you feel your shoulders drop after the final whistle, where it's like, oh, fucking thank God, because this was getting ridiculous?
Yeah, it's a strange one for me, because I kind of feel over the last couple of weeks, with everything that's kind of gone wrong, I've kind of emotionally detached from the season a little bit. So I didn't really go into this with too much nerves. I don't like the word free hits, but in a way I was just like, I don't know what Liverpool is going to show up today. You looked at the team, and there was a couple of question marks over, obviously, new lads at centre-back. I'm not Adrian's biggest fan, to be fair, and I thought
he was proper. Say it proper.
For now, I'll just stick with I'm not his biggest fan. Oh. But at the end of McGuinness, I might say something different. But no, to be honest, I'm not his biggest fan, but I thought he was solid tonight. But going into the game, you looked at the team. I was a little bit nervous. I was disappointed not to see Jota. Obviously, we knew Firmino it was going to be close. I think the key, Gav, is I'm not putting too much pressure on this Liverpool team because of everything that they've faced. I just want them to kind of grind out results, take it game by game, and see if we can get into top four or a little bit higher. But I tell you what, it was some feeling to get a win and a comfortable win. I thought we were solid, to be honest. Right through the spine of the team. We created chances. I did get a little bit worried, though, come half-time when we'd had a couple of gilt-edged chances and not took them. I was kind of looking at it thinking, is this going to be another one of those days?
Yeah, and you know what? I think you're absolutely right. And as we go through the game and we look at those chances compared to what Sheffield United had, it did have that bit of a feeling at half-time. I'm going to be honest. I was in the same boat as you. Keith, onto the lineup. Adrian plays because we know why, and that's fully understandable. Trent, Robertson, he goes with Kabak and Nat Phillips. He has Wijnaldum, Thiago Jones, and he has the normal three up front. Anything in there surprise you?
Not really, no. I think it picks itself based on the personnel available. When it turns out that Davies obviously has a minor knock and isn't available, I think that closes off the centre-back argument. With the bodies we have, I think there wasn't too much more he could do. I mean, there's the triangle, the axis of evil that everyone was worried about was Adrian, Kabak.
Axis of evil, I like that.
Adrian, Kabak, and Phillips, right? That's obviously the area of the pitch that everybody's worried about going into the game, and I suppose rightly so. We've seen it in the past. Ozan Kabak has not settled in yet. Nat Phillips, people will still think he's just a bit of a jobber, even though he does a good job in every plays. And Adrian just breeds sort of panic whenever he plays. So that's the worry at the start of the game. Other than that, there's no change really that you're going to make with the personnel that's available. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the midfield three we've seen in recent sort of games. as being a sort of nearly the go-to midfield, and then the front three are the front three. So no, the lineup didn't surprise me. I know a lot of people made the bench wasn't the strongest. I mean, we two keepers on it, two very young, inexperienced goalkeepers. But look, it is what it is at the moment. Jamie said something there that he sort of emotionally not checked out, maybe detached of himself from this season. And I think a lot of fans are probably like that. And it's nothing. Well, I'll speak for myself. Sorry. In my case, I agree. Like, but it's nothing really to do. Oh, we're not winning the league, so we're all checking out. It's not about that. It's, there's only so much really that you can take. It's nearly dig after dig, and it's. You see the tragedy that happens to Alisson and his father. It's one thing after another, and it's just puts football nearly to the back burner. But we do have to play these games, and we do have to win them. And we had to go out there. I want to, Roy Keane making out that, if these players can't beat Sheffield United, they should retire. All this nonsense, all this more narrative, about Liverpool.
Yeah, but Roy Keane's changed his middle name to clickbait now at this stage.
Soundbite.
It's fucking unbelievable. Like, it's getting ridiculous now at this stage.
It is getting ridiculous. He's absolutely flogged his golly, that fella, for a few clicks. But it just goes to show, we're that sort of target now. We were always that target, really. But, it's that sort of, kick Liverpool one that down. If they can't beat Sheffield United with this team, jacking in, even though Sheffield United beat Man U at Old Trafford not too long ago. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't too, saying they should retire. But look, that's an aside. I just feel it's Liverpool are the easy targets at the moment. So even though it's a game against Sheffield United, how many people were confident that Liverpool were going to go and win that game? Do you know what I mean? Like, and how many neutrals were saying, Sheffield United could get something out of this, So we can sort of say, it's easy, it's a job done, but context is everything in this. And I think it was made out that this was harder, and everything Liverpool have been going through, it certainly wasn't the foregone conclusion maybe that it should have been.
Yeah, Matti Tariq from Norway is back. He says, Norway needs you, Grizz. You're like some ambassador to this country now. Give us some gossip. He says he has positive news. I don't know what. It could be anything. It could be anything. You could have got that double-decker ice cream on special down the co-op. It could be anything. But we'll find out in a little bit. And Free World says, didn't United lose to this Sheffield United team at Old Trafford? Yes, they did. And this is the same Roy Keane that has been apparently in at Old Trafford with other former players, giving them a big G up and being a big inspiration to them. So just stop listening to Roy Keane. He's a fucking idiot.
That's it. That's all we've got to do. We've got to just stop. Do
you know what it is? Do you know what it is? There's way too many parodies in the football world now. That's what it is. Everyone's trying to out-parody each other, right? All across the spectrum of everything to do with football. Everyone is trying to out-parody each other. It's not about football anymore. There's
no analysis.
No, football is the stage, and this is a fucking entertainment show. This is a performance by loads and loads of people. Just stop watching parodies. You'll be absolutely fine.
Analysis is bad, Gav. I think I tweeted something. It was actually you, Grizz, about Mark Goldbridge of all people. And he basically did 30 seconds on Liverpool's problems and how their spine has been ripped out and how they're constantly you're unable to build from the back, and their fullbacks don't get forward as much now because they don't have the protection. Then your midfield, he literally dissected Liverpool's problems in 30 seconds better than any analyst has done in the last 6 months, because it doesn't seem popular to be able to say, well, hold on. If we look at this rationally, Liverpool's spine has been ripped out. Every bit of their foundation, whether that be at centre midfield or centre back, has now been decimated, which means their fullbacks, which are their main creative outlet, are now not getting as far forward. This type of analysis has gone now, and it's a sad state of the world when you're looking at the likes of Mark Goldbridge, a Man United fan, to shed the light on the actual problems that Liverpool are having. So I agree with you, Gav. It just seems soundbite city at the moment.
It is. It's parody central. Barry Devaney says, speaking of commentators, how bad is Andy Hinchcliffe? Andy Hinchcliffe hates Liverpool. He hates them. With a passion. He hates them. He did say something a couple of months ago about Liverpool, and it was ridiculous what he said, but it just shows he absolutely hates him, or hates Liverpool. James LFC says Mark Goldbridge is sound. Do you know what? When you listen to Mark Goldbridge talk about football, he's absolutely fine. He's
Mark's a wonderful shout out to Mark if he's watching or listening. He's an absolute sound guy. And as Jamie says, the key word, from what Jamie said, was the key word was rationally think.
Yes.
So many people don't rationally think, and they just spit sort of the first narrative they hear of the media and commentators alike. But if you think about, it doesn't take a genius, and I'm not saying Mark's not a genius. Mark, you're a genius. But the fact of the matter is, you just break it down rationally and you see what the issues with this Liverpool team are and why there's issues. Listen, guys, they've been dying, absolutely dying to fucking have a go at us for the last 2-3 years. So just embrace it. Use it as positive energy. This was always going to come. They just couldn't wait and they feel like shit. They will feel like shit next season, because when we have all our army back and we're standing to go to war again, they're going to feel.
Grizz, I'm going to get me boots on in a minute and do slide tackles outside.
Jamie, how shit are they going to feel that the only digs they could have had was when half the army was dead, injured, and they couldn't wait. They could not fucking wait. And when we're standing honest to God, when we're standing at the start of the season with all our army behind us and Big Virgil leading us out again, they're going to shit their brick. And I can't fucking wait.
Yeah. Crowd's back as well.
Everything back. Everyone happy, and the Reds will be absolutely fine. Into the game, and Grizz, I'm going to come back to you. Starts off, and Liverpool, I think from early doors you see a slight tweak in what Liverpool are doing. You threw up a what would you call it? It was a picture.
I nicked it off Jamie. Average.
Oh, you nicked it off Jamie. Yeah. Well, that's you do all that. Listen, if I was to go through all the stuff you put up and find out who actually originally done it, we'd be here all night. With me trying to explain it, but this is the average positions and stuff like that. But I thought you seen it very early on. Liverpool were trying to get Mane more central. I don't know whether that was just to counteract their midfield and give us more space in there, or give the likes of THIAGO more space. But you did see it, didn't you? And Robbo was getting higher. But Sheffield United have the first real chance. McBurney's header at the back post, and I'm going to be honest, Chris, when he gets that chance and all right, ADRIAN saves it, I'm kind of going, oh, that's the first ball into the box, and he's just on his own at the back post. Were you worried then, Grizz, or were you kind of, no, just build ourselves in and we'll be absolutely fine?
The latter for me. It hasn't been recently. I'm not going to say like I've been sort of feeling this way going into every game, but I don't know why. I just felt that we'd be up for it. And when I know you didn't ask me about the team lineups, but when I saw the team lineups, my shoulders did slightly drop in terms of, I thought, because I was expecting Naby to start maybe a fresh legs. I was hoping maybe Davis might get a start because he'd be used to this kind of football in the Championship, the game Sheffield United was going to play. So then, okay, as Keith sort of explained, he didn't have much choice in terms of the personnel. And then you think, okay, Jurgen, you know your game better than anyone else, but tweak the formation a bit. Let's not do this 4-3-3 again, what we've been trying to do for the last few weeks, and it hasn't worked. And he done it, and it worked. Very similar formation to what we played against Spurs, against West Ham, but with different personnel this time round. And it worked. I thought we controlled it, apart from the sporadic cross that they're going to have from a set piece, or just sort of, when they get into our area, sort of a long ball, and if it goes for a throw-in, they'll hurl it into our box. On the whole, I thought Nat Phillips was superb. I thought he dominated them aerially. I thought Kabak had his moments, shaky moments, but maybe we can come on to that. But I thought Trent and Robertson was superb. They played with that maturity that we saw, we kind of pointed out in Trent early in the season. I thought he played a fantastic game. But overall, I see what you're saying when they got that header in, but we regained control. And what helped us regain control was that double pivot. I've been screaming and pleading for Jurgen to, I've been on the phone to him all week to tell him to play Gini and THIAGO central, or whoever the two midfielders were. So let's say Fabinho was back and Fabinho and THIAGO, or Fabinho and Gini. Whilst we got our 7th and 8th choice centre backs, let's have two protecting them, and the rest will have more freedom. And that's exactly how it panned out.
James LFC is he's speaking Grizz's language here. He says, Grizz, with that motivational speech you gave, he says, you'll have me chasing chickens around my back garden like Rocky. Now, if you catch any, Grizz pays good money for chickens. All right, just to let you know. So make sure if you catch any to let Grizz know. What I meant by that, Grizz, was I was just looking for a solid start. No, I wasn't looking for us to go out and blow them away. I was just looking for us to be solid, not to give them a sniff. And we were always going to assert ourselves on this game, I felt, because especially with the fullbacks we have, it's going to push their wing backs back. And if we can get in around them in midfield, they play a fairly flat tree in there that are quite defensive. I just wanted to see just a nothing kind of 15 minutes, 20 minutes to start, and just for us to assert ourselves and then just grind at them. But when that chance happened, I was kind of going, it was just kind of force ball in the box and he's running off the back of people here and heading it. And a better striker probably scores, to be perfectly honest. But Jamie, coming to you, like overall in that first half, we've spoken all year about how Ramsdale is a poor goalkeeper at 18 million quid, and then he's making save after save. And like we spoke about earlier, at half time you're thinking, oh Jesus! But especially if you're missing chances and that you're blazing them wide, but this keeper's making, I think he makes 5 actual saves in the first half. It's the most he's ever made for Sheffield United in a half of football. But I, in fairness, what Grizz says there, THIAGO and Wijnaldum, I thought Wijnaldum was outstanding, by the way. Yeah. But the way they just dictated it, they moved it when they needed to move it. Jones was allowed flow. Mane was coming in to help inside, giving Salah a chance to kind of move. Salah was nearly, I think, the forward man forward most of the time. But we did dictate that first half, didn't we? And it was for, apart from a really, really good goalkeeping performance, it could have been 2 or 3 at half time.
Yeah, I think I put it in the group at half time. I think the performance was good. I think we were creating chances with more regularity than we have in recent weeks. There's question marks over the finishing, which I know Keith wants to come onto in a minute. So we'll wait for that one. But yeah, I think from a control perspective, what I was pleased about is that THIAGO was further forward. So I think he had more final third passes than any player on the pitch tonight, which is huge. And that's where we want to get him involved. He hasn't got the legs to be covering loads of ground. So if we can try and get him to influence a little bit higher up, it's going to make a huge difference. And I think that it did tonight. The only slant I would have, and maybe you want to come onto this in more detail, is I thought the fullbacks were superb. I thought you were seeing them able to influence higher. We play quite a high line. My worry is with these 2 particular centre-backs, and I thought Phillips was very solid tonight, but I did actually think we got caught out quite a few times. A mix of being a little bit too high. I think there's question marks over, and I know Kabak's young and he's adjusting to a new team in a new league, but his body position, he always seems to come from the wrong side or get caught square for me. And I think against better opposition, we could get caught. So whilst I thought we were in control, all that was missing was the goal. I just feel like, would it not make more sense at this moment in time, whilst we have the personnel that we do we not just drop 5 extra yards? Because I think we've got away with it tonight because they didn't really have much penetration in behind. But particularly looking at the likes of Chelsea, and if you've got Werner running in behind, I think there's a question to be said, right, do we actually just drop a little bit and give ourselves a little bit more protection?
Yeah, Ramirez with a super chat says, finally a win. Jones and Trent were great. His issue though is he thinks Klopp hasn't changed the formation enough. He thinks Salah is being played too wide. I don't see a problem with Salah playing wide if you can isolate him. What's happening is a lot of airplay I felt was when Salah was getting it, he wasn't isolating fullbacks. He was getting crowded out, because you were literally funneling stuff towards Salah and all your team are just shifting. Whereas if you can get more players in around the middle of the pitch and then quickly get it to Salah, like you see in the chance he has, where it's just quickly to him and he just stops and goes and the keeper makes another fucking save. But it was one of those where he isolates a fullback, and as soon as he isolates that fullback, your man's never stopping him. But I get where you're coming from, Ramirez. I really do, because I think there was a bit of a shift today. I think there could be something else there that makes us that little bit more powerful going forward. Jamie, you want to jump back in?
Yeah, I was going to say the big thing for me, it's kind of like risk reward. You don't have so to go back to the Salah point, I think our wide forwards, if you want to call them that, struggle when, like you said, Gav, they become isolated. So when they haven't got fullbacks that are overlapping, they then become kind of like natural wingers. So an opposition team can go 2-on-1. So basically, they can't get in behind. They're doubled up, so they basically become, isolated in the game, and it's difficult for them to influence. What we're doing at the moment is, because we play such a high line, it allows Robbo and Trent to get forward on the overlap, so they become the wingers. And then when you see us call us in problems, it's when Salah's the inside forward, Mane's the inside forward. So it's kind of like, because we play such a high line, it allows the fullbacks to go forward, and then we can create higher up the pitch. So it's a difficult one. We're gonna concede more chances and risk more goals, but at the same time, it allows to get our better players, i.e. your Manes, your Salahs, in the positions where they can do most damage, and ultimately the fullbacks bombing on. So it's a tough one.
Keith, we said Ramsdale's had a good half, but was it encouraging for you the sort of chances we're carving out? We don't score, but you see Genie drift and hit a good shot. It's a good save, and I think Firmino should blast one and tries to square it. You have one where Trent's really far forward, gets inside, hits a brilliant left foot shot, and it's a good save. Firmino's through on goal, and there's a lot of argument over it. Does he go too centrally on him? Does he go put out a nice height? I think there's a bit of both on that one. I think you have to give the keeper a bit of credit, but Firmino should be burying it. But was it nice to see us creating those sort of chances? Because let's be honest, we've been beaten at home a couple of times, and even away at Leicester, where I thought we were good, there wasn't loads of clear-cut chances, but tonight there seemed to be a little bit more creativity and opening that team up. Now, I know it's Sheffield United, and I get that, but it was nice to see, for me, just, that's different types of chances, I think is the best way to put it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they weren't just, you touched on it there, Gav. The games we've been playing, we've not been creating chances. We all know we haven't been creating chances. And the ones we have been creating, they've been snatched, or they've been, half chances maybe. We're not clear-cut ones. Whereas today, you're right, the Trent's one there, he cuts in, great work, cuts in, tries to give the keeper the eyes, put it into the top corner, keeper makes a good save. The Genie one skips through a couple of challenges, blasts it, a good shot, good save. Salah's one where he goes through, and again, a good save by the keeper. They were excellent moves. Now, the one everyone talks about is Bobby's one, where he goes through clear. And look, make no mistake, any forward player should be scoring there. I just think Bobby's getting too much stick for that, and maybe not enough credit to Ramsdale. I'm a Bobby Firmino fan, so it sounds like I'm just a cheerleader for him at this stage. But I just think it's a good save by the keeper, and he gets a good strong hand up to keep it out. If he doesn't get that hand up as high, or it's going in, do you know what I mean? The shot's on target. We could say he should dink it. You could say that about every chance that's ever missed. You know what I mean? He should drill it. He should dink it. He should go around him. He should do this and he should do that. I think it was a good performance by Ramsdale, and I was sort of worried, because there were good chances we were creating, but he was making the saves, and it looked like it was another one of them where a keeper who's been absolute pony every game he plays comes against us and puts in a Leviathan performance. So I was worried about it, but at the same time, I felt there was something about the performance that I just felt looked good. Something Ramez said about the formation change. I thought we were actually quite good with the formation change because it was countering what they were trying to do. I thought Trent was very good as a ball-playing centre-back. I thought Robbo he was camped out on the left wing. And Salah got the space because he dropped back as a right wing-back. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was very clever by Liverpool, and it put Mane more centrally. Now, you could do it the other way. You could put Robertson as the left-sided centre-back and, Salah centrally or whatever. There's options to do there. We've all said Klopp needs to make changes to the formation or tinker the way we're playing. And I thought he'd done that today, and I thought we looked good. I know hindsight's a great thing, right? I wasn't worried that we wouldn't have won that game. I always felt we were going to win that game tonight. I didn't think it was going to be a West Brom or one of those other ones where you don't take the chances, because the types of chances, we were playing well to cut them open, I thought. And I just had a feeling the chances would come.
But the reason for the chances today, Keith, as compared to the type of chances that we've been creating before that, were, how shall I say, more through controlled possession. So we had more of our better players having more of the possession. as opposed and centrally in dangerous area, as opposed to sort of relying on our fullbacks. So you touched
forcing it.
Exactly. So you touched upon Robbo having that left side to himself. You know, it could be said that in recent times, Mane and Robbo were sort of getting in each other's way and sort of way out of the action, you know, and not enough people in the area as a result. Well, now what we had was if Robertson was going wide, you could for sure see Bobby, Mane, even Jones and Salah coming into the penalty area. How many times did our forwards, attacking players, midfielders get touches in the penalty area, in their 18-yard box even? And that was key today, I think.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think you've got to give us a bit of credit for the bravery as well. So I think Sheffield United probably played into our hands a little bit. I mean, I think we've got a good glut of home games coming up now, and teams will be more defensive. And I think that's probably where we will struggle more. I think Sheffield United were quite open, but I think you got to commend the bravery and our desire to get in the box. I think if you refer to that average positions graphic that went around after the game, Curtis Jones was almost furthest forward player today, which tells you everything. We were looking to break and get him beyond. I just, to go back to your point, Keith, I do think there is a conversation around Bobby Firmino. You know, you're in games at the moment, and these goals, they're so important. You know, when we haven't got much confidence, and you kind of feel like, you know, you're getting chances, you're not taking them. It just creates a nervousness, and when you've got a centre backs pairing that isn't normal, you know, it creates a ripple effect. And you know, Bobby had 2 chances in the first half. The worry is he's not selfish enough. He's not lethal enough. You know, that first chance for me, I think it's a great save, don't get me wrong, but the goalkeeper's gone the other way. He just had to roll it in the corner. And then the second one, it's like he's thinking too much about it. Instead of just smashing it in the goal and being ruthless, he's tried to be smart and cut it back. I think Jota coming back will do him a lot of good because he'll be able to rest. I think there is a big part of it that he's knackered. He's absolutely knackered. This guy's been running on empty for the best part of 3 years. But I think it is a worry, and it definitely is a conversation. He doesn't seem lethal enough for me when we do get the chances.
It's a definite upgrade that's needed, isn't it? Sorry, Gav, for cutting across you there. As I said, I'm a Bobby fan, but I think he does his best work from a deeper position, and I just think he's not a number 9. He's worked in the system for us as a number 9, as a false 9, if you want. And it's allowed the others to play. The last 2 years, he doesn't get enough goals. He's not ruthless enough. He's not a good finisher. He's an average finisher. And if he's playing as a number 10 or he's an attacking midfielder, that's fine. But when you're the sort of number 9 in a team, and when that team aren't firing, the pressure comes on you. And I just think, you know,
the key to all this is Jota.
Yeah,
this is the key, because even though Jota sort of was ruled out because of illness, just the thought of Jota on the verge of being fit again, I thought it upped. I mean, I know we're talking about Bobby missing the chance, but I thought his overall game was so much better. Yeah. I mean, I know he missed a chance.
I think he has a better game than Mane. Like,
I tend to agree. I tend to agree. In terms of his work was more neat. In terms of his work was more intelligent and neat, as opposed to Mane tried his heart out. He's just out of form. Mm-hmm. And so therefore Jota puts pressure on Mane and Bobby as a result now. Yeah. I think it gives us many options. And I know we're talking about, we counted Sheffield United. I thought we gave them a problem. They didn't know how we're going to set up. And this is the key. Liverpool teams of recent weeks, we know how they're going to set up. We know how they're going to play. Today we were very unpredictable, and that's what was key.
I think if Jota, for argument's sake, if Jota was fit on Thursday, I think you'll see them all 4 of them play. I think that tonight looked like a warm up to a 4-2-3-1 with Jota in that side. I genuinely do, because if you go with those two, if you went with the two you're talking about in Wijnaldum and THIAGO, no, Jones we get onto. I thought he was excellent, but if you wanted to take a Jones out and put a Jota in, you could move Bobby in a deeper position and put Jota right through the middle. You really could, and I think there's an argument there that if you look back to
Man City, the Man City madness,
City away, yeah, and he plays. I think he play Wijnaldum, Henderson, Fabinho maybe that day, and he just goes with the 4 lads. He just goes fucking mad, and it was great to watch for the first half an hour. I think there's a good chance that you'll. I know I'm with you all when you say, you know, and loads of people have said Firmino hasn't stopped playing football in about 4 years, and that's correct. But I think Jota will put pressure on Firmino, and I think you've seen earlier in the season Firmino kind of upped his game and Jota came in. But I think there might be an argument that not he may replace him. He may replace him in the side because he's just knackered. But it might be the jolt that he's given mightn't be by being replaced. It might be by having this fella in the team with him, another runner, and an actual runner that's in front of him rather than the side of him. So if you put Bobby in a deeper position to where he is now and say, right, Jota's going to go up against those two centre halves and you're going to flow, it could rejuvenate him in that way. I don't know, but I do think he needs a rest. I think we're a bit harsh on him on the first chance. I think the keeper tries to guess, and it's brilliant reflexes because if he's a millisecond off that's in the net. He just happens to get his hand out. But I agree on the second one. Clinical striker just takes his left foot and lamps that in the net. There's no second thoughts.
You might be onto something there, Gav, with the front four thing, because in a way it's kind of like going back to 13-14. Brendan Rodgers knew we didn't have a spine or a defensive setup or structure that was going to help us keep tight and win that title. He knew attack was our best form of defense. And given the casualties that we do have, we'd be better off taking the risk and trying to win 3-1 than, trying to nick the odd goal here or there. And if you actually look at that City game as the example, they were shell-shocked. They didn't know what to do. For the first 30 minutes, we could have been 2-3 up.
Yeah.
So I think you could be onto something there.
Yeah. Ramez says, in my opinion, I think the problem is that the chances don't come to our goal scorers since Mane and Salah are too far out of the danger area, and we haven't goal scorers in Bobby and the midfield. Will you discuss Redboard? Ramez, Redboard is obviously the company that looks like they're buying 10% in Fenway Sports Group for a room worth $750 million. We're going to talk about that tomorrow night on the forum. That's one of the topics for the forum. Olivier asked, would we talk about the Brighton free kick from yesterday and all that went on there? That's also on the forum tomorrow. So I'll let you know at the end the full lineup for the forum. But them two topics are most definitely in it because I'm on it and I've picked one of those. So I'll let you all know exactly what that is later on. But look, we get to half time, lads, and we're all seem fairly confident. Me and Jamie are a bit fucking hell. We know what's coming here. And it's only because of what's gone on over the last couple of months. But Grizz, back to you. I want to talk a bit about Curtis Jones because, as Jamie says there, he's the furthest man forward on them average positions that you see after the game. He gets the first goal. It's good by Trent. He gets to the end line. I think the defender can do better. What he's doing, flicking that out into the middle of his box, I don't know what he's doing. Just put it in the stand. But it's such an underappreciated finish for me. It's so good.
Yeah, look, this fella has a lot of talent, and we kind of and I noticed it as well. I thought sort of he was being under instruction to sort of keep the ball more and not drive and not play to his natural ability like he does for the under 23s. I've seen a lot of him sort of playing for the under 21s, and that was far more his position in the under 21s. He has an absolute free license in the under 21s, and obviously he's the star boy in that team, and so therefore the star boy in your team has a free role. I thought today and previously, just the last couple of games, I think he's been given a freedom to express himself. And again, that's a result of that double pivot in terms of Ginny sitting whereas THIAGO and Jones were playing as 8 on either side of Ginny. It's totally different now. See, they were playing next to each other, and it gives that freedom for Bobby to drop and join in the play with Jones, and it gives Jones a far more position that he's sort of used to growing up playing as well. He played a lot of his football growing up in that position where he's allowed to roam between the lines, and he's got amazing quick feet where he sort of entices defenders and gets past them very, very easily. And this is the next stage of his development for me. Start getting the goals, start getting the assists, because he looks great, and we've praised him in terms of his composure on the ball, his technique on the ball, the way he links play. But this is where we want him. So we don't want him sort of making last-ditch tackles on the edge of our box, which he has done, and he's shown he's capable of doing that if and when the team needs him. But his main skill is to drive at defenders, get the ball in those between the lines. and I thought he was fantastic at that. I thought him and Bobby, as I said, the interplay between him and Bobby was fantastic, which gives the likes of Mane and Salah, who like to play on the last man, utilize their strengths more. So I think everyone played to their strengths, basically. Everyone was deployed to play in their strengths. And I think the outcome was, a comfortable win.
Keith, the goal goes in, right? And like, when it comes to him on I'll say the edge of the box, he was about 16 yards out. The easy thing to do there is open your body out, hit it with your instep, and try put it in the other corner, because that's as a right footer. But to let it run nearly across you and then just whip it with your foot into that far corner, I thought was brilliant. But one thing I did notice, when the goal goes in, right, he celebrates, people come to him, and you see THIAGO turn to one or two players that must have been at the back, the likes of Kabak, and he's calling them as if to say, that's our goal, everyone in here together. It was a real case of, there was relief in it. But did you read it? I read something into it, but did you read that into that like they're all calling everybody in to say, listen, that's everyone's goal, that's how much goals at this stage mean to them.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying on that, Gav. I think it's something that, when your confidence is low and, you're getting stick, and you might feel it's unwarranted and it's unfair, despite what fans can be fickle and other teams, as I said, will never, fans of other teams and pundits won't give you credit. Liverpool know they're a good team, they know they're good players, but they're just in the mire at the moment and nothing is going their way. And when a goal goes in, it's a hard-earned goal. I think they just want to say, get this team spirit up. It's something we've praised Klopp about. When Klopp came in, right, the biggest thing he had to do, I'm going to divert a bit here, was turn the fans from doubters into believers, right? It's one of the first things he says when he comes in. And he done that. And I think the recent run of form was all it took to sort of do away with all that work among a fan base, right? Was, the doubts crept in. We're all programmed to lose and to be, the bridesmaids and never used to being the bride. I think the players are sort of feeling it and are a bit pulling together as a team. Do you know what I mean? Alisson's had a tragedy this week. His father dies in tragic circumstances. There just seems to be knock. And I think they're just looking to pull them all together. We have a new centre back there. We'll come on to him. We're patching the squad up every game, every week. We're having to sort of put a plaster over an elbow to find that we need a plaster on the knee. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just one thing after another. And I think THIAGO trying to pull them lads in, it's like, right, we can, we're a team. Let's act as a team. Let's play as a team. I think it's probably a bit of experience trying to get them in. And I was delighted to see it myself. I think it's something that we need to do. I think there's too much, not players looking after themselves, but maybe not that team spirit that we've seen over the years in the squad.
Madge Apple says solidarity is important when you're getting shit from all quarters. Really is. And Manda Roncon Dilma, what a great name, by the way. I still think THIAGO will make bigger impact once all our players are back. Hopefully he's going to make people eat their words. Listen, don't be listening to them words, please. You know what I mean? It's like rating a boxer and he goes out and he's one hand tied behind his back. Let things settle down, and as Grizz said earlier, let these players get back, and when you see the actual Liverpool team out week on week, then you can make a judgment on THIAGO and many more, to be honest with you. Jamie, just the last thing on Curtis Jones, because me and you have spoken about him quite a bit and how he's great at protecting the ball, moving the ball, going, I think Jamie's frozen on our screen here, but I'm going to ask the question anyway, and if he doesn't, I'll give it to one of you, you just can answer. But we've spoken quite a bit about Curtis Jones, great at protecting it, great at move with the ball. He can glide by people, he has all those aspects, and you see him today as the furthest forward. You see him as the furthest forward player today, right? And but I'm wondering, and Jamie, I think you're back there. The question I have about Curtis Jones is, where do we ultimately see him? Because that surprised me a little bit today. Are we just looking at his strengths and going, let's get him that bit forward and let him kind of play his own natural game? Or do you still think in the future we'll be looking at him in a tree, either off the left or off the right as an 8, but looking to keep his best attributes, but still have him in that system, if you know what I mean. Not take his best stuff away from him by having him fit our system, or do we let him loose a little bit more? I think it's a curious one on Curtis Jones.
Yeah, because I think for me, he's got a little bit of everything. And I think if you remember when Carragher used to come back into started coming into the Liverpool team, they kind of played him at fullback to kind of learn the ropes. I think you're kind of seeing that a little bit with Curtis Jones at the moment. They're getting him to do a little bit of everything before they decide exactly what type of player they want him to be for this Liverpool team. He's got a little bit of the Steven Gerrard syndrome in that he probably tries to do a little bit of everything. And if you think of Gerrard's comments, particularly around Rafa Benitez wanted him to be a lot more controlled in his play, and I think you're starting to see that now with Jones. One of his biggest traits for a kid that age is maturity, and he's never phased. He'll take the ball in any situation, kind of like a Jack Grealish. You know, he's got players all around him, and he'll keep the ball. But I think Grizz is right. I want to see him influence higher up the pitch. I don't want him near our penalty box. I want him creating. So whatever type of system we can give him the platform to go and create, because more often than not, we're going to come up against teams that have a lot of bodies in and around the box. So to have somebody like him who can keep the ball when pressed from multiple angles, and then just pop it off to somebody in space, that's where I think you're going to see the best Curtis Jones.
Cav O'Sullivan says, I think he is a pure box to box in the making. I think that's a great show, because I think I think you're going to see I think you're going to end up seeing a Curtis Jones that's a hybrid of the Curtis Jones we see in underage football, where he glides by people, but a hard working player that he's going to become in this system that we have. I think a box to box is a great show. Grizz, box to box, are you going for that with Curtis Jones? No,
I don't think.
I don't think. Show.
I think it's a great shout, but I don't think that's his best position at all. I don't expect him to be a box to box for Liverpool going forward. I really do expect him to be, as Jamie says, a Jack Grealish type performance
off
with
the
discipline,
left
with discipline. Look, he's shown he can play a variety of roles, and I do believe that he is. Some of it is forced because of the injury situation. He's had to cover. You know, some of it's been put on, he's had to play in these positions, and I think he's done amicably. But I think eventually we will see him for his natural talent, which is being that sort of creative spark in that sort of between the lines. You know, that's his floating. Doesn't have to be off the left, Gav. Today he mostly, I will double check the heat maps. I haven't got it to hand, but I think, he was fast. I think I don't know if Jamie can check, but I think the majority of his play was central or right, or not majority, but a lot of it. So I think, look, I just think he's in between the lines, a floating 8, possibly a 10, and just taking on players on the edge of the box, committing to people trying to challenge him, winning free kicks and penalties.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not against that. I'm not against that, but what I'm saying is, I don't see a Jurgen Klopp side going, listen, go on out there and be a floaty 8 taking on people. You have to do this stuff at the other end. So what I'm saying is, that's where Kev O'Sullivan's point about box to box comes in.
He gave Royce that role. He gave Kagawa that role. He can easily be our Kagawa.
Yeah, but hold on. You can't compare it to what he done with Kagawa and this, because we haven't seen that.
I just did.
But on what grounds, Chris? Because you haven't seen it in 5 years. He hasn't had a floaty 8 that just takes on.
But
people.
this is what ITKs do. You see into the future. You don't talk about you. No, see
that's what Bernie Stokes does, Chris.
Yeah, well, but I can see that in his game. As I said, look, the way to look at it is, and as I said, I don't know how much you saw him in the under-21s. I saw a lot of him. A lot of people said, I saw a lot of him in the under-21s, and that was his position. He was brought into the first team setup based on his performances in the under-21 setup, and that's where he played. Right, left, behind the striker, having a free role. Of course, I totally accept what you're saying. Jurgen Klopp's not going to go and say have a free role. He's not on that level to have a free role in this amazing Liverpool team, but he's got the confidence and he's got the game. I think he's got the game to develop into that role for sure.
I don't like doing this because I think it's done too much. It's this player Mark II, or you try and shoehorn a player into other players' former positions. If I was to kind of compare him, I think he could be the new Ginny, if you want, because his ability to keep the ball in tight spaces, I think he can do that job easily. But he also reminds me, when Coutinho was played as the 8 centrally, and he'd pick it up and drive. So he'd pick it up a little bit deeper, and Coutinho would scurry and rat away and win the ball, but then he'd drive. Jones's ability to go past people in the same way that Naby Keita's ability to go past people, I think that's where he's at his best.
Jamie, here's one comparison. Do you know McManaman in his latter years when he became, and he still had the ability to drift past players, and yet
more
be so
disciplined
good
in his position.
And Madrid found that discipline in his position. They found a position for him. Keith will know,
Central.
being a European,
being central.
But that's what I'm saying. He's got the discipline to play that, and the intelligence, game intelligence on the pitch. I think he's so not. I'm not saying he's not intelligent off the pitch, but what I'm saying is you can see that game intelligence he's got, and game intelligence is very difficult to describe. You're either or coach, you either have it kind of thing or you don't. Do you know what I mean? And how old is he? For a young lad,
20.
That's scary, guys. To have that ability at 20, I really think that's.
I wouldn't compare him to any Liverpool player or any former player. I'm just looking at what I've seen in Curtis Jones in the underage setup, and what he's and like you've rightly said, he's done bits and pieces in various positions in this side. What I'm just wondering is, are we trying to, without hindering his natural ability and his natural want to go at players and go past them, are we trying to put that together with a hard working central midfielder? Because if you can, get a hybrid of those two, you end up with a box-to-box player that's 6 foot tall, a strong runner, really good with his feet. He can drive at you. He turns out that just sounds a fantastic prospect to me, rather than pigeonholing him into, he's a 10 or he's a guy or he's the this and he glides. I don't want people to think Curtis Jones just a fella that gets it and glides by people the odd time. I'd love, like Jamie says, without comparing him to Genie, I'd love to see Curtis Jones chasing a fella down, winning it, turning it, and just driving back up the pitch and going, yeah, that's absolutely perfect for us. Because I think sometimes players in this side get pigeonholed too much. This fella just does this and this fella. And the midfield is very functional, don't get me wrong. But I think in Curtis Jones, you have something, for me, a little bit different, where he can be absolutely functional, but he can do something that Genie probably doesn't do, or Hendo doesn't do. Keita can do at times. I think there's an absolute place for him in this starting level if he continues to where he wants to be, and he continues on that trajectory. It's a very interesting one to watch, I think.
He's got a little bit of everything, and I think that's the key. I likened him before to Ginny Wijnaldum, but only in his ability to keep the ball. I think coaching kids, you talk about body shaper and receiving the ball. Curtis Jones is kind of like the poster boy for how you should keep the ball in tight spaces. But I think you're right, Gav. He's a little bit of everything. But I think the best thing for Liverpool and his development, think of all the problems that he's had to go through and solve and be a part of this season. So whether it's playing in big Champions League games like away at Leipzig, the away game versus Leipzig, he was brilliant that day. The composure that he showed. Then he's had different problems where we've ultimately lost our leaders, and he's been expected to step up. And in some games he has. He's also made mistakes. And I think there was one, I can't remember the team, but he lost the ball on the edge of the box. I think it was West Brom actually, and they scored from the corner. So he's made mistakes on the job as well. This kid is still young, and he's going through all of this at such an early age. It only bodes well for the future.
Jonathan says the axis of evil, which I think Keith called him this earlier, which is Adrian, Phillips, and
that's going to stick now.
Yeah,
hopefully we don't see it again.
It worries him if we continue. El Nino's number 9 would have scored tonight. Chelsea will be licking their lips.
Have you seen how big Torres is now? He's been on the absolute tank.
Whoever Grizz has, or he used to have as El Nino's number 9. I don't know if he would have scored tonight. Grizz will tell you he would have scored all day long. It was a cracking side that he had.
He'd a clone for Sadio Mane. He was absolute clone for Sadio Mane. I tell you, fantastic striker. Anyway,
well, the only thing I would say, and we touched on Kabak earlier, was body positioning, and was he a bit flat-footed or the cut square, whatever it might be. I don't think he's been overly impressive, I'm going to be honest. But he's 20 years of age coming into a new country. He's walked in and he's had a centre midfielder beside him who's played one game and then disappeared after half an hour with an injury that has him out for the majority of the probably the rest of the season. Then he has Nat Phillips come in beside him, and he played a half an hour last week, and this is their first full game this week. So despite nervy moments, and Jamie pointed out his body positioning and stuff like that, he's 20 years of age, and he is what we have. You know, that kind of way. I get where you're coming from with Chelsea, with the likes of Werner, Ziyech, whoever, Mason Mount, whoever else you want to throw there. But it's a learning process, and that's just the position we're in. You know, what do we do? Do we take Kabak out and get Davies in now and just throw him in and see what happens? Because you're going to end up with the same problems. You've players that are not used to playing beside each other and double guessing each other, second guessing each other. You know, if Gomez and Van Dijk are there, you just go move 3 yards now, move. They're off. That's it. There's no worrying. There's no thing. But I get where Jamie and others are coming from with his body position and the way he attacks stuff and watching players over his shoulder. And that sounds like a very basic thing, but you know, it is basic. But then you're looking at what way Liverpool are looking to play as well. Look, we just have to see on Thursday. And as Jamie said, you don't become detached. You don't kind of give up, but you do kind of go, we're just going to see what happens, because that's where we're at. We can look at it and study it afterwards. But beforehand, you're kind of going, well, theoretically, we could do this and this. But we're at the stage now, lads, where we go, every time we go on this pitch, we're just going to have to see. Let's just see what happens, because that's where we are. We really, really are. Keith, Bobby Firmino, big fan of Bobby Firmino, gets the second goal. I'm not having it, that it's an own goal. I don't care what anybody says. No. If Bobby Firmino isn't doing that sort of stuff, we're not scoring that goal, so it's his goal in my opinion.
Exactly.
And I'm marking him down for one. But it gives us some breathing space, doesn't it?
It does, and it's, you know, it's, I thought Bobby, we said it earlier, I thought his play was good, and we can, you know, wax lyrical at Sheffield United at the end of the day, but his play was good. He was linking up well. He was doing some good stuff, neat and tidy. And I think the goal could have been going out for the throw for all I care, but, you know, he works it well. He gets in, bits, close control, nice bits around the box, and forces the goal. So as far as I'm concerned, that's one for Bobby. But it's another one that, you know, he didn't get the goal today, and he gets lashed out for missing the chance, as we said earlier, and then everybody's rushing to, that's an OG, and it is going to be, it is given as an OG, but he does well. Do you know what I mean? He does well, and I think Bobby, if I can go back to the Curtis Jones for a minute, where I see Curtis Jones, I think in his best would be if we switch to a 4-2-3-1, because I think he can play any of the three behind the front player. I think he can even come from wide. Don't think he can do that in a 4-3-3. But I think there's so many players that could do that. I think Bobby would be better in a 10 in a 4-2-3-1 than he is as a 9 in a 4-2-3-1. And it's because, similarly to Jones, I think they're so clever in and around the box. They're not looking to, you know, snatch at chances and shoot, or when they're good, let's say, they're not looking to make bad decisions. When we're at our best, it's intricate little cutting them open around them positions on the box. And I thought we done it on that second goal. Bobby gets in, he beats a couple of players. Right, look, the shot is brutal. Let's be honest, it is brutal. But he's forcing them into it, and he gets a bit of luck. I think he deserved a bit of luck, but that's just me being a Bobby stan or a fanboy or whatever people want to say. I just think it's easy to kick him and then not give him a bit of credit when he plays well. I thought it was a good performance by Bobby, capped off for a nice goal, where there's no question marks over the first goal. We're waiting on the VAR check. Nothing on the second one. Happy days. Does business.
Yeah, and it gives us that breathing space, and I think Liverpool see out the game quite well. Sheffield United make a couple of changes. We do see Kate and stuff, and but overall I thought Liverpool saw the game out quite well, and a comfortable enough 3 points in the end. We're going to finish up in a minute, but we want to get man of the matches before we do, and if the lads have anything else they want to talk about, we can absolutely do that. Grizz, man of the match for you?
Tough one. I'm going to give it to Gini Wijnaldum. I thought Gini Wijnaldum, I mean, I read so much drivel, absolute drivel on the Twitter this week about sort of, you know, suggestions that he should leave, you know, and, you know, he's not worthy of captain because of the fact that he's considering.
Is this a rumor that he could end up staying?
Yeah, I was going to come to that, but you've fucking
you've ruined his intro.
You've ruined it.
I brought you to it.
But look,
you're taking your time. We're here 59 fucking minutes.
Yeah.
He's never wanted to leave, Gav. We know that from a personal point of view, and he feels as though the club haven't been fair to him in terms of their offers they're making to him. His heart is here. He doesn't want to leave, despite all the media stories and everything. And some people were holding that against him in terms of he shouldn't be the captain. But I thought his performance today, marshalling that team, which is so low on confidence, missing 6-7 leaders ahead of him. That are usually ahead of him. I thought he marshaled and protected the centre backs brilliantly. I thought he linked up the play. He barely gives the ball away. He absolutely dominates the ball. Yes, he can be conservative, but it's all about confidence levels with him. And then if he's got a fellow maestro alongside him like THIAGO, then did we see the surges that he can make? I think Jamie touched upon it. His ability to drive with the ball. Jones can learn off, and Ginny done that again. He's simply an Iron Man for us, absolute Iron Man.
It's funny though, isn't it? Like, before you officially give it to an Alan, but isn't it funny how we've spoken about THIAGO at Bayern having the likes of a Kimmich or a Goretzka beside him that have serious engines in them to go all day, and then when you put him in beside Wijnaldum, who does, like, I think he's looked tired, but he is that sort of player that would just make, cover so much ground for you and be so destructive in midfield when he needs to be, and then when you have THIAGO going, yeah, he's doing all that, and just give me you, and we can go from there.
You're spot on there with the comparison to Kimmich and Goretzka. Ginny is as resilient, as fit, as energetic as either of those two players. And look, isn't it a miracle, guys, that we've seen an improvement in THIAGO's performances in this role or in this setup with Ginny in midfield? I just thought Ginny, for me, there could have been a couple of, Curtis Jones was a very able man of the match. He could have easily been man of the match, but I'm personally going to give it to Ginny Wijnaldum.
Yeah, Master of Disaster says he reckons there's an improved offer on the table for Gini Wijnaldum with regards to a contract. Chris Brack says, why is Gini being captain such a surprise? Klopp said years ago the captain order leadership group is Henderson, Milner, VVD, Wijnaldum. I presume that comes from the fact that people believe he's leaving, and if he's leaving he shouldn't be captain. That's ridiculous.
Put it this way. If Jurgen, but even if his performance is good, if Jurgen Klopp, if Ginny had made noises to Jurgen Klopp that I want to leave, he would no way be captain, or he's itching for a move, or he was sort of making noises behind the scenes. This proves that he doesn't want to leave. It's between him and the board, and his effort on the pitch has been magnificent. There isn't an offer on the board, but I've been told that there will be further talks now to try to resolve this Ginny situation. So, guys, it's not a foregone conclusion that he's leaving.
Can I jump in with a controversial one on the Genie situation?
Mm-hmm.
If we need to evolve as a team, do we not need to make our players? Do we not need to start replacing some of the older players in the team? And by that, and look, I'm a huge Gini Wijnaldum fan. If Gini was to stay and sign a new contract, what are we doing to replace these players? Do you know what I mean? We can't go again with the same.
Straight away I can tell you 3 players that I'd get rid of before.
I'd get rid of Oxlade-Chamberlain. I'd get rid of Naby Keita at this stage from the midfield. But it's not really going to happen. And I'm not trying to dig out Gini. I think he's brilliant. I think he's absolute one of the best ball carriers in Europe, if not the best.
But Keith, you see, this season has shown me more than any other season. You have to fucking be there, and there's too many players haven't.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean? Now, don't get me wrong. 24, 25-year-old, and he turns up once every fucking 2 months, or a 30, 31-year-old that's there every fucking week. I know what I'm picking, especially after this season. Yeah. You know what I mean?
No, I agree totally about that. But what I'm saying,
you do need to replace players. There's no doubt about that. But are you telling me that Gino Wijnaldum, if you take your midfield now as it is, all 7 or 8 of them or whatever it is, right? Are you telling me that Gino Wijnaldum at 30 years of age, 30 years of age, am I right? At 30 years of age is the most dispensable?
No, not at all. Not in the slightest. That's not what I'm saying in any way, shape or form. What I'm saying is they have to start looking to replace bodies. Now, unless he's going to get ruthless and get rid of Oxlade-Chamberlain, and Milner is looking,
he will.
Do you know what I
Oxys have
mean?
gone
And
up.
if that's
Oxys
the
have-
case,
I completely got your point, Keith. I think Gav twisted your point and didn't. I actually got the point that you're trying to make in terms of the age, because he's the oldest out of sort of that Naby.
He's 30 years of
Ox.
age.
but we
But
have to start rebuilding. When do we start rebuilding? And
Oh, you can
have to
rebuild,
let
but
them know.
you can rebuild, but you can't turn around and go, well, let's rebuild. We have to replace these players. So who's the oldest? Let's replace them.
That's not it. But the fact that the contract was running down, and it's like, right, Genie is gone.
Yeah, but the
He's
contract's
gone
down
now
to
when
money.
you get one in.
I don't think the
Oh
contract's
yeah,
down
I
to
know.
ability.
But at this
or-
stage, it never was down to
No,
ability.
but it's not. It's not down to ability. It's not down to loyalty. Okay, it's down to the money. Okay,
Yeah.
and let's be honest. We're
I think
talking
Stephen.
about replacing.
I think.
But
Check this comment out. Check this comment out. What I think what Gav's saying is like for example, Milner, bless his cotton socks. You know, he just won't be sort of ready for another Premier League title. You know, yeah, you got to be ruthless there. I mean, I'm a massive James Milner fan. Oxlade-Chamberlain, Grujic, these guys are the three that I would absolutely sell tomorrow ahead of Gini Wijnaldum.
Well, you need someone to take them on the big wedge, don't you?
Let Gini be the next Milner. So imagine we have Gini as the next Milner. It improves the squad strength.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, no issue with Genie's ability. It's like I said, it's just purely about the rebuild. I'd get rid of the Ox because I don't think he can improve. I don't think he's going to get the games with us to improve or to get back to his where he can sort of get to. But as people are saying, you know, Oxlade-Chamberlain's on 120 grand a week. We're going to need a Gilly to come in and take him. With his injury record. I don't know if he's going to be easy to shift. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if he's going to be easy to shift. I think we need to bring in players. If you're saying to me, Gav, would you rather have Gini Wijnaldum next season or let's say Bissouma off Brighton? I'd rather have Gini Wijnaldum every day of the week because he's the known quantity. But I just think we need to start the rebuild. And
yeah, but the way I look,
it's hard. When do we start? And I'm not saying I do it. I'm just saying, where does it start? And
I know,
who?
but you see, well, I probably took it the wrong way because you said I want to say something
You took it the wrong
controversial
way.
on this. Right?
Yeah.
Well, he said, I wanted to do something controversial on this, on the Genie thing. If we want to start a rebuild, should we not be replacing these players? They were the words you used. So I just took it as you want to start a rebuild by replacing Genie Wijnaldum. So if that's not what you meant, that's fine. Just on the talk of a rebuild, I don't see why you can't start a rebuild at this club or this squad I think rebuild is the wrong word because that sounds like you're signing 12 players. But what I'm saying is I can't see why you can't do that, right? And keep Genie Wijnaldum and say, listen, we will give you whatever he's looking for, the meet in the middle, and whatever. That's none of our business, right? Yeah. But we will put you on a 3-year deal. Now, let's be honest. Contracts don't mean aren't worth the paper they're written on. So if he signs a 3-year deal, right, and 2 years down the line or 18 months down the line, we're evolving a bit more. Wijnaldum is probably getting a bit leggy or whatever it might be, and he knows in his heart of hearts, you know, it's not really working. There's every chance he turns and says, look, PSV want me to come back to Holland or Feyenoord want me to go back to Holland or whatever it might be, and a deal is done and away he goes. All my point is that there's no start a rebuild by all means, but I think Wijnaldum has much more value than certain players in this side in midfield, in my opinion. That's all.
Couldn't agree more. And I think he should be used more, as people said about Milner. I think he can do jobs at fullback, and you know you said before about centre back, Gavin, and you got laughed at. I think he could do a job in games at centre back because he's that intelligent. I'm just saying, you know, the squad is grown all together. We're going to be seeing a lot of players hitting 30, right, around the same time, you know, 28, 29, 30. And that they're up for contract renewals. Virgil van Dijk's up for a contract renewal. You know, all these players are going to have to get paid. And if we have an issue with paying players at 30, a 4-year deal on 150k a week, I just don't know if the club would be. Well, what I'm trying to say is, I don't know, you know, are the club going to rush it contract through to Genie and then be worried about somewhere else? I think he's better than most of the players. I'm not saying I'd get him out by any stretch. I just wonder, you know, it's like the front three. I think we'd all probably say Bobby's time is up. We need a new forward in. But we're not going to keep the front three and people say get Mbappe or get Haaland and we've got Jota there. You know, there probably has to be a bit of management in the squad. someone will have to come out for someone to go in, not from a financial point of view,
Yeah, but
just from a body's point of view.
But it does come down to finances then, because then it all comes full circle back to FSG and what are they willing to put in, and I think, in my opinion, I think this season has shown how badly it can go through, lack of form, injuries, COVID. It's all fucking being thrown at us, right? And I seen a stat the other day, Liverpool's players combined have missed 204 games this season. The next closest one is Leicester on 101 or something like that. 102. Yeah, it's exactly 50%, actually, you're right. Fucking hell, Grizz giving me maths lessons. But, that shows you the magnitude, and I think that as much as this season has shown me what the squad needs, I think it might have shone a big light on FSG and said they need to look and go, do you know what? No matter how prudent you are, no matter how well you're planned, this gets blown out of the water and you can literally be destroyed in 9 months. You really, really can. And we only know that by the end of the season, because let's be honest, lads, if we're four sitting here in 4 months' time and we're in the Europa League, we're all going to be up the walls. You know what I mean? About who's staying. Will this player stay? Will he sign these contracts you're speaking about? Will we get X player that we are linked with? It all goes fucking turned upside down. Your world goes all over the place. But this all started because I got fucking Grizz said Genie man of the match. Why didn't he just say Curtis Jones? We could have moved on. Jamie, man of the match.
I think I'm going to go with Trent. I'm going to go with Trent. I think last couple of weeks he's really stepped up. I think you're starting to see the Trent of old. Distribution wise, he's fizzing balls, whether that's crossfield passes, which when you've got teams that are sat in is a godsend. You basically shift the whole defensive line of the opposition. So to see him pinging balls from right to left is fantastic. But not only that, but the hunger. I think I've seen a stat before in terms of ball recoveries. I think he was the most on 14. Our second most ball recoveries in the game was Andy Robinson on 6. Like that is insane from Trent. So for me, offensively, I think he looks back to his best. Defensively, he seems a lot more solid, and I think he's taken on a real leadership role there at the back. When all the others are kind of dropping like flies, he's coming to the fore.
Jono just says Gav, players aren't leaving after one season out of the Champions League. They understand what happens this season. I'm completely with you on that. I'm looking at it more from the ownership point of view. We've seen how prudent they are. We see how they have a model. They stick to that model. January being the absolute case in point. What I'm saying to you is, if they stick to that model and you're in the Europa League next season, their model will be affected massively. And what way would they react to that? Well, your argument would be they'll react by saying, well, listen, the money isn't there, or you need to move someone on in order to do A, B, or C. That's what I'm saying. It comes full circle back to the owners when what happens at the end of the season. And yeah, everyone understands what's going on this season. But if you go by the model and the way it is, you would expect some sort of prudent reaction to being in Europa League, for argument's sake.
I think everything's changed though, Gav, and it kind of goes back to Keith's points just on Wijnaldum. I think Wijnaldum would have been gone, but I just don't think that teams are going to be buying that many players at the moment. So I think everybody's just kind of shutting shop. So I don't think you'll see this market where players will be looking to leave. I think this season has been that rare in how it's panned out. I think this whole squad will be looking at next season and say, right, we want to have one more go at this, because I think this. Again, to go back to Keith's point, I know what he means. There's a natural evolution that should happen at a football club. And I think Gini Wijnaldum, the reluctance from the club to give him that 3-year deal tells you everything that you need to know. His reliability has been unbelievable. His availability has been key, and he's a great player, don't get me wrong. But if he was one of the players to move on, I don't think he's going to be at the fulcrum of Liverpool's team for the next 3 years. So the club kind of looked at that and said, well, okay, if we have to be smart with wages, I don't want to give you that deal for 3 years. You can move on. And then naturally you bring in somebody new. You get rid of some of the dead wood. I can kind of see where Keith is coming from. That said, though, I think all plans go out the window now because of COVID. I think the clubs that potentially would be after some of our players maybe don't have the finances to do that. And I think other than the dead wood, I don't think you'll see many Liverpool players leaving going into next season.
You definitely won't see any of the big boys leaving. I disagree in terms of players overall, because I think there will be 100% a clear out of the deadwood. So obviously we don't consider our Manes and Moles as deadwood, but what I would consider as deadwood is Shaqiri, Oxlade, Chamberlain, Gruitch, Wilson's. 100% we will be accepting offers this time round because of the fact that we do need investment, and I do believe there will be significant investment in the first team squad without selling any of the first team players, if you know what I mean. And I think for the first time, this will be a change in, you're talking about an approach from FSG. I truly believe that. I don't think we've got the time to sort of go into it more. Maybe we'll do another podcast and talk about these kind of things, because there are things in the pipeline, I believe.
Yeah, no, I just think I'm not asking I'm just lastly on Wijnaldum. I'm not asking I'm not saying that you have to give Wijnaldum a 3-year deal and he has to be the absolute fulcrum for Liverpool. What I'm saying is,
but he wouldn't sign it though, Gav. That's the key thing, mate. He wouldn't sign that 3-year deal if he wasn't going to be.
Yeah, but I don't know, because the way I look at it is, and I've always said this, for me, and we've heard it so many times from Klopp, he looks at the players, if they're playing well, they play and stuff like that. But I've no issue with Wijnaldum going from 50 games a season for Liverpool to 35 games a season. You get more out of him at 31, 32 years of age. But he's taken the place of somebody that is probably kicking the manager's door in last season because he's not getting game time. And then this season, it comes around and where are you? And when you are here, it's been no good. I'd rather have Wijnaldum there. Do you know what I mean? It makes more sense in my head for the squad to have a Wijnaldum over one or two players that you would, consider younger or on more money or whatever it might be. That's just where my thought process is, because I think if you have Fabinho, you have Thiago, you have Henderson, and you have Wijnaldum, and all right, Milner's probably looking at one more year, maybe Jones, and you bring in two more, that's absolutely fine. Because if you can get 5 or 6 of them playing, mixing and rotating at 30, 35 games a season each, I think you'll see the massive benefit. Plus, if Wijnaldum is one of those 6, you know he's going to be available and you know what you're going to get out of him. And I think that shows that in my mind, is, especially after this season, has to have way more value than potential or he's this and he's that. Well, he's not fucking here, so stop telling me about him. Keith, man of the match.
Genie. No, no, Curtis Jones for me. I thought Curtis Jones was excellent today. I thought he really popped up everywhere. He's such a cute player in around the box, which I think we've been missing. I don't think we've been seeing enough cuteness around the box. And Jones hasn't always done it, but I thought today he was excellent. Gets his goal. I thought he was unlucky to come off, but then he did look like he was bleeding on 2 crutches leaving the pitch. So he probably needed to come off and come out. But yeah, I thought he was great. I thought he was excellent. But it was one of them. I agree with the boys. I think Trent was excellent today as well. I think he's really stepped up. And Genie, all joking aside, I thought Genie never lets you down. And we always say, availability is the best ability. And that's what Genie has in spades. So it was one of them that I think there was 2 or 3 really standout performances today, and it was good to see. We haven't had much of it lately, but for me, it was Curtis Jones.
I was going to give a man of the match, but Genie, Trent, Curtis Jones, I'm good with that. I don't need to give a man of the match. You've all covered everything. You're the best boys at covering the stuff, I have to say. Appendicitis for Jota. Well, I don't know. Klopp saying he should be okay for Thursday.
He's all right for Chelsea.
Our WhatsApp group was brilliant there. It was like fucking Dr. Nick Riviera convention. There was people going on about keyhole surgery for appendicitis. They were giving prognosis and diagnosis. It was absolutely unbelievable. And then at the end, it was like, and then at the end of it, Klopp just said, "No, he should be okay for Thursday." So I really enjoyed that. What a fucking insane group of people they are in that group. It's outrageous, to be honest. Lads, Grizz, anything else before we go?
No, that's all for now, folks.
Happy. Good stuff. Jamie, anything else before we go?
Quick shout out to Adrian, who surprised me tonight. I thought he did his job very well. So round of applause to him.
Oh, well, in that case, I want to give a quick shout out to Nat Phillips. I have been his critic from day one. Literally, I'm going to confess, but he hasn't put a foot wrong. So I will hold my hands up, and you know me, where I'm wrong, I'm wrong. He's been absolutely fantastic so far, playing like a leader.
I want to give a shout out to Ozan Kabak because nobody else is going to.
Okay. Let me see. Chris Prosser says Fab centre back versus Chelsea. We'll have to wait and see if he's back.
No,
he's
I
back
want him in midfield, mate. I don't want
Well,
midfielders in back anymore.
Where we will discuss that extensively is Carnage this week, Gav. So there's a little plug.
Ham52 says, love the show and the community. Thanks very much. He reminds me down here, my super chat. I don't know if it was a super chat, but there you go. We got it in there before we left. Oh, sorry. Bobby playing deeper made a difference. Yeah, of course, Jones gets further ahead of him. And it does make a little bit of a difference. I think Liverpool need to show a little bit more, though. It was Sheffield United. It's something to build on. Yeah. But, you know, as we've all said, we go into Thursday night now and just go, listen, what happens. You have to kind of take it in your stride a little bit as the season goes on. But look, that's it. There's nothing else before we go. Tomorrow is the forum, as I've said. It's myself, Phil, Andy, and Shawnee. We will cover that FSG potential investment. Shawnee's going to go mental about the state of refereeing. I know that much. He had a breakdown yesterday. Phil will probably tell me something at 8 o'clock tomorrow night that he wants to talk about. And Andy, probably the same. Tuesday is a scout report, of course, with 5yards.co.uk. That's on, and that should be a cracking show again. Wednesday's the midweek fix. Oh, no, Wednesday's a double show because we're the best. Grizz is on at 9 o'clock with Grizz Matisse, the Chelsea fan.
Yep. And my little dynamite partner in crime, Avi from California.
Yes, them three are on from 9 till about 5 to 10. If we can get them off. And then Jamie's on from 10 o'clock with the midweek fix. And we'll confirm all who's out on them shows as well. Thursday will be a match reaction to the Chelsea game. And Friday, Chris is back with the Friday forecast. So a packed week ahead. We're just acting the maggot now doing all these
busy
shows,
man.
to be honest with you. Oh, acting the maggot we are. Really, really are. But listen, that's been the Fatback 4. Liverpool have won a game of football. Me and Grizz are off to play Warzone. Jamie might join us. Keith definitely won't. We try and find Carl. We try and find Shawnee. Brenzy's still alive. There you go. There's a bit of an exclusive for you. And yeah, that's it. Over and out.